Well, hello and welcome to this week's of Photographic Life and another episode of our Proustian Questionnaire. This month we speak to Cengiz Yar, a New Jersey-born documentary photographer and editor, now based in El Paso, Texas, who has worked in visual journalism for over a decade. He currently works as a visuals editor at ProPublica, where he edits, photographs and art directs stories across the site, focusing on the visual coverage of projects in the US, Midwest, Southwest and Texas. Before joining ProPublica, Yar edited for publications such as Rest of World, Roads and Kingdoms and The Guardian. As a photographer, his work has primarily focused on human migration and the conflicts in Iraq and Syria. He is the inaugural recipient of the James Foley Award for Conflict Reporting, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and a Dart Center Ockberg Fellow in Journalism and Trauma. His photography clients include Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, Wired, The Guardian, The Wall Street Journal, Instagram, Google, and The New York Times, amongst others. He is also a certified drone pilot, and his first monograph, This Alabaster Grave, exploring the overwhelming destruction faced by the Iraqi city of Mosul, was published in 2025. So, Cengiz, welcome to A Photographic Life.
Thanks so much for having me, Grant.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's great to have you on, and also to attempt the questions that consist of the Marcel Proust quiz.
Well, it sounds fun. I'm looking forward to whatever questions you throw at me. I haven't done this quiz before.
Okay, well, let's see how it goes, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to start off with quite a big question, I suppose, which is, what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is probably having to watch my daughter go through something and not being able to help her.
So which living person do you most admire?
Tony Hawk.
Why Tony Hawk?
He created basically modern skateboarding and has elevated to a level that I don't think he even imagined being able to when he was starting out. He's been persistent and consistent his entire career and seems to be just like a great all-around guy. He gives back a lot to the community. He helps a lot of younger skaters, and just those are kind of like skills and the type of personality like I would like to embody and be able to bring with me through my own art form. Push new things, help other people, and just keep doing the art forms I like to do for the rest of my life. He's pretty old now, but has just like not given up, and he's still out there skating.
He's a similar age to me, so let's be careful about that. Pretty old.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know his age, but he's still kicking it and still kicking skateboards around, and I really admire that persistence and consistency over his career.
And real overcoming adversity with someone like him as well.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So that was a slightly off-the-wall answer there, literally off-the-wall answer, which I wasn't expecting. So what is the trait that you most deplore in others?
I don't know the word that this trait is, like the one word that would describe this trait, but it's others' like inability to see how their actions impact other people, just like walking through life without realizing how they're impacting others. And I don't really know what that word is. I'm sure there's a word that describes that type of trait, but yeah, it's just not, it always really annoys me when I see people do things that are hurting other people or are impacting other people negatively. And they seem totally oblivious to it.
So it's kind of a lack of empathy.
Yeah, but a lack of empathy, but like not even realizing you're doing it. Like a lack of awareness.
So there's a selfishness there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the selfishness, the lack of empathy, those are all tied up into that for sure.
We often talk about on the podcast the importance of empathy to photography, but in a way, also photographers can be selfish.
Totally. Yeah. Human beings are selfish. Photographers are human beings, and pull the traits into the craft.
Most of the time they are. Okay, so what is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
Huh. Well, it used to be my lack of patience. I used to be a very impatient person, but I have, since becoming a father, have developed a lot of patience. It's part of becoming, hopefully becoming a good father is being patient. And so it used to be that, but now I'm not so sure. Being indecisive. I can be indecisive sometimes, and I really dislike that about myself. I would prefer to be more decisive and take more action earlier. I also procrastinate a fair bit, and I've always struggled with procrastination, and I wish I could be better at getting things done when I need to instead of waiting until the last minute.
That's a tricky thing with a documentary photographer.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but well, I mean, outside of the photography, like the grant writing process, like applications for grants, especially just like waiting until the last minute to get those applications in, writing reviews for things, right? Like writing stories themselves, waiting until the last minute to get my edits done on a piece. Like those are things I wish I could avoid. The photography, I don't think I've ever really had a problem with, letting things develop or waiting on images to appear in front of me. That's less so an issue, but more like the tasks that I dislike generally in life or cause me additional stress, just leaving them and letting them go by until the very last moment, or forgetting about them and not doing them in time at all.
But you have two sides to your work, as a photographer and as a photo editor. And as a photo editor, you've got to be decisive.
It's true. Yeah. It is a real struggle. And yeah, I try to do it the best I can, but I'll sit there looking through 3 images, trying to just make sure I have the right one image in the slot. And it can take me a while sometimes.
It's interesting. You're fighting against your natural instinct there.
Yeah.
So what's your greatest extravagance?
I wouldn't say I'm a very extravagant person. I would say I eat out too much. I enjoy going out to eat a lot, and I cook a lot at home too. Like I'm a pretty good cook. I think my wife agrees, and but I really enjoy going out to eat, and I love trying new foods. I love going to restaurants and having other people prepare food their way, and I spend way too much of my my monthly budget on food outside my house.
Okay, so that's your greatest extravagance, but which talent would you most like to have? Is it to be a chef?
Well, talent, skill, craft. I wish I could be an architect.
Okay.
You're
the first architect that we've had.
I'm not good at math, and so that would be a pretty big detriment there. But as I've gotten older, I've become more impressed with things people have built in the world and how I engage with them, and how watching other people engage with, works of architecture, be it airports or houses or condos or, skyscrapers. And I love going in those environments and seeing the decisions other people have made and wondering why they made those decisions. And I also live now in the Southwest in the US, which is a really old, people have been living here for thousands of years. And there's really interesting architecture down here that I had not previously been aware of. Adobe, these old missions and really beautiful buildings. And I wish I could have the skills to construct something that other people could enjoy or live in or take value from outside in the real world. I also spent a lot of my time as a professional working on the internet, and the internet is so vague, and you don't really know how many people are seeing what you're doing, and no one's really touching what you're doing. They're just looking at it, often through a very small screen in their hand. And I love reality. I love touching things, tactile, the experience of being able to enter a space and enjoy and soak that space in. And yeah, if I could have another skill, I think it would be to be an architect.
There is something kind of transitory about photography and image making and publishing, whereas the kind of the physicality of a building has a sense of kind of lasting, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
Which I understand, as my father's a bricklayer. So I've never really felt as if I've had a proper job in that way. Okay. So which words or phrases do you most overuse?
I say a lot. And I'd say the quote I say quite a lot, and often without much context, is a quote from Cormac McCarthy's The Road, which there's a quote in there that says, there is no God and we are his prophets. And I find it, I love that quote, and I find myself saying it quite a bit and just dropping into conversation whenever religion is brought up. But yeah, I say that a little bit too much.
Is that in the book as well as in the film, or just in the book, or just in the film?
I actually haven't seen the film. I don't want to ruin the book for me. I've read the book 3 or 4 times now and love the book. And yeah, I have no intention of watching the film. But he also, Cormac McCarthy used to live like 5 blocks from me, like the current house I live in El Paso, and he had a real fondness for this area. Spent a lot of time in New Mexico and West Texas and Juarez in Mexico, just across the border. And the book, his inspiration from the book was actually at a hotel downtown here in El Paso, which I didn't find out. I loved the book prior to years ago. I picked it up prior to moving here, and I didn't realize that he had based, like, his inspiration came from this city. And he was like, the story I heard was that he was at a hotel downtown with his son, and there was a big sandstorm, and he looked out the window, and it inspired him of what like the world would look like in an apocalyptic wasteland, which this city does feel like when there's a dust storm sweeping through. It's really like super powerful to watch. And I could see someone being inspired by a dust storm like he probably saw, and I see quite frequently, to wonder what it might be like in 50 years here.
Is writing very important to your visual storytelling?
I think it's important to storytelling. It's important to my storytelling for sure. I think my photography needs writing to help contextualize it. And I've never thought my photography can do all of the work of telling a story, especially, I mean, I work in journalism, and it's really important that people have more context and more information about the images I've made and the people that are in them and the cities that they're about. And so photography and words paired together is always really important to me. But that's just, words or photos. Those are just, a couple skills. Some of the tools that you can use to tell stories. You can also, I love video and mapping and graphics, analyzing data and all these other things that you can really combine together to tell somebody a full picture of a place and what somebody's going through. And I like to rely on whatever the best medium is for telling a story versus saying every story is going to be told through photos or every story is going to be told through words only. It's always like a case by case basis on what medium fits the story best.
I agree. What is your most treasured possession?
Ooh, I don't know. Uh, I have a piece of artwork in my living room that is from an artist. His moniker is a perfect monster. He's John. I forget his name's John Bailey. John, yeah, something like that. He's a metal musician. He's also an incredibly talented painter and artist. And it was way out of my price range. And when I saw it for sale, and my aunt went to an art show in Austin, and I was in Chicago at the time, and I was like, "Hey, this artist has like this piece of art there." It was like $250 or something, and I was pretty broke. But she's like, I'll get you the piece," and so I got it, and I put it in storage, and it sat in storage for a long time. And it wasn't until I returned from Iraq in 2018 and I got my first job in editing at Roads and Kingdoms that I finally had a paycheck. And the first thing I did as far as like buying something for my house was framing that piece of art. And I love it. It's got a half naked woman with a skull for her face, and an owl, and it's got all this nature and death imagery mixed together, and it's really colorful and vibrant, and it sits over my record player and my speaker system and overlooks my living room, and so all of my daughter's friends' parents have to look at it too. And yeah, I would say that's my favorite piece of anything that I have in my house.
That's a nice story. What's your most marked characteristic?
Marked meaning what? I'm sorry.
Marked as in most obvious.
My most obvious characteristic.
Yeah.
I'm pretty shy and withdrawn. And I think that comes across in most social settings. People can misconstrue that or misinterpret that for being rude or, a dick. But I'm kind of just this shy, withdrawn person. And it's like part of why I've gravitated towards photography over my life, is being the person that can sit in the corner and take pictures of what's happening and observe versus being pushed to interact. And I'm normally the last person to enter a conversation and the last person to say hello. I'm a little bit more withdrawn than normal human beings.
It's a strange dichotomy, though, isn't it? Because so many photographers will say that. And yet you're constantly putting yourself in situations where you don't know anybody.
It's true. I love meeting people. I love meeting new people.
As long as you don't have to speak to them.
Yeah. Well, as long as they're not asking too much of me to like give myself out. Although this conversation's awkward. But I mean, that's my favorite part about journalism and about photography. I've always thought journalism is the best job in the world. Like, where else, like what other job besides maybe like a police officer, where it's like someone, like you knock on someone's door and you're like, "Can I come in?" And the people like let you into their house, they let you into their life, and they open up. They open up about so much. You get to learn new things every day, and get to experience the world through so many different people's eyes, and it's really just like such a wonderful and blessed profession. And I in my career, I've met so many different types of people that have changed my worldview in so many different ways, and yeah, I love meeting people, and the camera has allowed me to do that. Journalism has allowed me to do that. And while I might be shy, I'm still very interested, and I'm constantly curious.
It's interesting you say that with the policeman. I think that's a really good analogy. There's a certain inquisitive nature. We both want to find out the why.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good line that I did not make, but I was more referencing the you have to open the door when the police knock kind of kind of thing. As well, you kind of got to open the door when the journalist knocks. Not have to, but it people often do. I'm always surprised at how open people can be in ways that I would not be personally. Like if somebody knocked on my door and was like, tell me everything that happened to you yesterday in this really terrible moment of your life. But people are so wonderful and have been very open with me in so many different ways.
Have you found that that's the case more on your travels than in the US, or have you found that the same to be in the US also?
I think there's a little bit more suspicion in the US of journalists. I think there's, especially in the last 10 years, there's been a real demonization of my profession. And, coming from the top, calling people like myself the enemy. And I think, I mean, I've experienced some pushback and definitely people who are suspicious of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And if I have, ill intentions or I'm going to misconstrue their words in some way. And I've had those interactions in the US in the past 10 years, but I mean, I've also had incredible encounters with people that, I don't see eye to eye with politically. And we both know that, but where they've opened their door to me and we've hung out for a day and gotten to experience their life. And I feel like if you approach people as people and try not to bring any preconceived notions, then treat them as you would want to be treated, that kind of does the work for you. And in the US or really anywhere else, I've found I've had the most warm interactions abroad though. And places like Syria and Iraq, where people have gone through really, really difficult times for decades, and there's still just so much warmth and love for the other and for strangers, and the willingness to open up and sit down with me, someone whose country is responsible for a lot of the pain that their countries have experienced, and that's also been really wonderful to experience.
That leads me rather nicely, almost as if I'd planned it, to the next question, which is, what do you most value in your friends?
Honesty and um, and compassion and um, people that are I value people that are able to listen and provide like honest feedback. And I would much rather be surrounded by a bunch of friends that would call me out when I'm doing something wrong than a bunch of friends that'll tell me I'm great when I'm clearly not. And so, yeah, I think honesty is probably the answer there.
Which, in the role of the photo editor, you've always got to be honest, haven't you? But as the role of a photographer, sometimes the honesty can be a little painful.
True. Yeah. I mean, honesty can always be painful, no matter if it's been photo editing or taking the pictures or editing. Yeah, sequencing. Being honest can really hurt sometimes.
I say
I think we
that
both
having,
have. I
sorry,
think
go
we
on.
both have flies running around our heads right now.
We do. You've noticed, you've noticed mine as well. It's unusually warm today in the UK.
Yeah,
Um,
no concern there.
uh, so, what is your greatest regret?
That I didn't spend more time at my father's deathbed, and yeah, I wish I spent more time there.
Yeah.
He was in the hospital dying, and um, yeah, I just wasn't at the time. I wasn't able to sit there longer than I did and talk to him longer than I did, and yeah, I've always regretted that.
Although sometimes we can only give what we can give.
Yeah, I mean, there's valid excuses there, totally. Um, but I wish I spent more time with him in those last moments.
That's a particularly powerful answer to that question. So I'm going to lift the mood slightly. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Being content and surrounded by loved ones and continuing to find like beauty in the world, being able to do those things. Yeah.
Which historical figure do you most identify with?
Well, if I said Genghis Khan, that would be pretty bad.
If it's true, then you must say what you think.
I mean, in my side work as a mercenary raping and pillaging across Asia, no, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't say I associate with him. I always make a joke that it is rather funny that my parents named me after a mass murderer, but it's less understood here in the U.S. as a bad thing versus just someone who used to conquer and rule a large part of the world. But historical figures, I don't know. I wouldn't say I identified him to many people in the past. Yeah, I would take a pass on this one.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Genghis Khan as your answer. What is your motto? What's your motto for life?
Keep going. Don't give up. Give back.
And finally, if you were to die, and as I was talking to somebody recently, they said, we all do. So you've got to change your question. But anyway, if you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what would it be or who would it be?
I'd love to come back as a bird. And that would be so I could see the world from an entirely different vantage point. And it always looks really fun to be flying through the air without a mortgage.
It's a very common dream, isn't it, that people have that they can fly.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I'd want to fly in this body, but I think flying as a bird would be quite fun. And then you get to build cool things like nests and
that's back to the architecture.
Things like snakes.
Okay.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
what kind of bird? I'm going to nail you on the type of bird. You're going to be a big bird or a little bird?
Be a big. I think I'd be like an aggressive bird, probably like a hawk or something. Like, you know, they're so beautiful. I have hawks in the sky here quite frequently. And it was actually last night. I was in my backyard and drinking a beer, and I looked up and there was a hawk circling my house. And I was like, that looks so fun. And they're such beautiful birds and beautiful animals. And anytime I see a hawk, I get like a little bit of like a little spark of joy in me. I don't know why entirely, but I didn't grow up around hawks, so maybe it's like a new thing, seeing this like really beautiful creature that I thought was really far away, now being not too far away. We also have we have roadrunners down here, which I also had never seen before moving to the Southwest, and they are so cool. And every time I see a roadrunner, I get it. They don't fly, but I do get a little bit of joy just watching them run across my a mountain bike path. Often I see them in the mountains when I'm biking, and they're just so cool. And yeah, it's really fun. Like those types of birds and all types of birds are really cool. But I'd say hawks are my favorite.
Well, Cengiz, thank you for answering the questions. I think it's very clear now to me that you're a bird house building bird with a desire for his own empire. Who also has a real soul when it comes to making images. So thank you very much for taking on the question.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Grant. This was fun and challenging. Appreciate the questions.
That's an absolute pleasure. And that's how I think most questions should be, especially if you're putting them to a journalist.
Totally. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks, Grant.
And thank you, Cengiz, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really do feel that these questions are getting down to the deep nitty-gritty, the heart of who we are as people, and of course, as photographers. I hope you agree. Anyway, back next week with yet another episode, and in the meantime, of course, please take care.